Hi, this is Emmy with Ebb and Flow Creative Co. Today we're going to be creating an easy watercolor beach scene. We're going to start by taping down our paper, and then we're going to divide the paper into about 2/3. The top 2/3 needs to be wet with plain water, and then we're going to start adding in our blue. I'm using the ultramarine blue for this. It makes a really pretty sky color, and just watering it down a lot so it doesn't get too dark. Next, we're going to be adding in the sand. And for this, I'm creating a nice sandy color using yellow ochre and a little bit of burnt umber and just the tiniest bit of ultramarine blue that will kind of gray it down a little. We're going to paint it in really lightly. Next, we're going to create a nice turquoise green for the water. We're using the phthalo green and the ultramarine blue. Be careful about the edges because it will bleed where it hits the wet spots. Luckily, they can be fixed pretty easily though. So we're going to go in and start removing some of that blue. We're using a lifting technique to create clouds. And just kind of dab the brush around to create nice fluffy clouds. Next, we're going to be adding in some more ultramarine blue to the horizon line, just to make it a little darker, and then blend our way upwards. We're adding in a little bit of blue right under the clouds just to add a little dimension. And if you make too harsh of lines, you can blend it out with a little bit of water. We're going to work on the water a little more and add just a little bit of a darker line to the back and some waves. Just add in some kind of wavy lines and make the water overlap the sand just a little bit. It'll create a slightly green spot, but it looks like the water is transparent in those spots. And so next we're creating a wet line where the water would wash up on the shore with a darker brown, and then we're going to go in with the sand and make it just a little bit darker. And softening the lines. Any lines that are too rough, I always go in and soften a whole bunch. I'm adding just a little bit of the turquoise green that's very watered down to the clouds. It provides continuity throughout the painting, and it kind of makes it look like it's being reflected. Then I'm adding in some darker purples and grays to the clouds just to give it some more dimension. I don't want it too dark and it's starting to bleed a little, so I'm softening it and lifting it. So I'm coming back after it dried. And I'm making some gray to add to the brown. I just want the line where it hits the water and leaves a wet patch of sand just a little bit darker. It's a little too gray, so I added in some brown. Just making sure those lines aren't perfect, but they look nice and natural and rough, like the lines actually look at the beach. Making that horizon line just a little darker with some more ultramarine blue and adding some more depth to the clouds. I'm smoothing that line out because it ended up a little harsher than I wanted. So you just use a wet brush and smooth it, and adding just a little bit of texture to the sand with little brown dots of paint. And once again, if these feel too rough for you, you can smooth them with a wet brush here in a minute. Now I'm adding in more waves with the turquoise color. The lines vary in thickness and width, and I tried to make them nice and wavy looking. This is where I'm going in and softening the little dots on the sand. I'm adding just a little bit of a cool pink to the clouds. I like adding different colors to my clouds just to make it look more whimsical and a little more see-through, I guess. Like the more color and texture you can add to it, the more realistic it looks. Like if you look at clouds, they're almost a pink color on a sunny day. And so if you make mistakes, just go in with a paper towel and you can remove a lot of it, or you can soften stuff. Just keep adding layers until you're happy. And so I let it dry, and I'm coming back and mixing up a nice gray using ultramarine blue and burnt umber. It's the darker brown. This makes a nice cool gray, because the kit that I'm using does not come with a black or a gray, and you can use black, but it's going to be a little harsh. If you have a Payne's gray, that would be perfect. We're going to start by painting in the palm tree, and it's just kind of a imperfect line. It's a little bit of a curved, and I'm painting in where the palm leaves will be. The base is a little bit spread out at the bottom. Now I'm going to go in with a tiny paintbrush and fix some of the lines, and then start adding in the leaves. And this paint is, because I mixed it, it is pretty watery, and so we'll have to come back with more layers. But that smaller paintbrush, it makes really nice little leaves on each side of the little spine of the palm leaves. And it's okay if they're not perfect, because in real life none of these are going to be perfect either. Some of them are going to be flopped the wrong way, and they're going to be looking pretty weird. So the jankier it looks, almost the better, the more realistic. I'm going in with some a darker, thicker mixture with less water, and kind of going over those spots. I decided to add one more leaf right there in the middle, because there was just a weird opening that I felt like needed more detail. And all the layers create depth and dimension. Going in and darkening up the trunk of the tree a little. Now I'm working on the water just a little bit more. I want the line between the sky and the water to be nice and dark. And just go in and fix any spots that you're not happy with or that you think need to be a little more defined. I'm kind of using a thicker brush to just add a little more depth to these leaves. Alright, and that's how you paint a very easy watercolor beach scene. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell button to get notifications for when I create new videos.